I'm sitting down with Arris Golden. How are you?
Doing well. Hope
Great.
you are too.
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for driving out here.
Fun times.
Specifically for this podcast and nothing else.
No, there's nothing else going
There's
on.
nothing. Well, I'm glad this worked out, that you were coming out here anyway when we got a chance to sit down. So I usually start these things off with you just kind of giving us a bio and timeline, basically where you started, how music started off for you, colleges that you went to, maybe any mentors, and then where you're at now.
All right. Well, I'm guessing like most other people started in middle school band in 6th grade as a little alto saxophone player. And before that, I'd had experience taking piano lessons because my parents made me. I chose alto on my own, which I did a lot of work with that because I enjoyed that more than piano. So I did middle school band, did high school band, had the same director, Steve Skillman, down in Boiling Spring Lakes, North Carolina, which is near Southport, North Carolina. Wilmington is that coastal area. And from there, I went to UNC Chapel Hill and did my degree in political science. And partway through that, we got...
Political science?
Yes.
Okay.
I was going to go to law school.
Okay.
That was it. I wanted to make money, and I thought law school would be good. And I enjoy being argumentative. My friends would attest to that. So, yeah, political science, because that was going to be the entry in.
Okay.
But partway through that degree, we had a change in band director at UNC Chapel Hill, who happened to be Jim Heil, who is around this area currently. And he really kind of corralled a number of us who said, we love music, but we're not doing this. So I had a friend, Steve Lytle, who's actually the new assistant at West Virginia, as the assistant director and as director of athletic bands. He was an econ major who came back and did music. And we had several other friends. One was a business major, one was an elementary ed major, one was a physics major, that Dr. Heil pretty much inspired to do music ed. So I went back and did, because my parents were very patient people, another 4 years on campus and did my music ed certification. And then from there, I got my first job and taught for a while. And then I went and got my master's degree at UNC Greensboro.
Okay.
Then I taught some more and decided... My route is very entertaining as I think about it. I decided I was going to do a degree in ed leadership. I was going to do an EDD. So I went back to UNC Chapel Hill and started that. And then decided, no, I don't want to do that. Kept teaching. And then in 2011, Kevin Sedetall was doing our all-state band in North Carolina. And I'd never seen him rehearse, didn't really know anything about him other than his name and that he was at Michigan State at that time. And I went and watched his rehearsal and went, oh, wow. You know, if I were to ever do some sort of conducting degree, I would love to study with this guy because he's fantastic. And I should say that during the time I was teaching, I did go and do like summer workshops or workshops during the school year with conducting. So I did the one at Northwestern, I did the one at Cincinnati, I did one at North Texas, and UNC Greensboro would bring in people throughout the year, each school year, that would do a little conducting workshop. So at that point, you know, I kind of put away the idea of doing that kind of degree, but I went, well, you know, if I'm ever going to do it, I would love to do it with him. Well, and as it turns out, Virginia Tech has a conducting workshop every year. And that particular year, Travis Cross was hosting, Dr. Sedetall was one of the clinicians, and Alfred Watkins was the other. And I went up and did that workshop, and he and I got to know each other, and we talked about it, and he's like, okay, well, if you want to do this, we can do this. Let's talk about it.
Okay.
And between 2011 and 2013, we essentially came up with a plan for me to be able to go, and then I had my audition to solidify things. And
what does an audition for that look like?
Well, my particular situation was that I went up to MSU, and I had to do a presentation for the graduate conducting studio. So I had to do a 30-minute talk on the Strauss E-flat Serenade from whatever perspective I chose to go, which was one portion of it. And then the other portion was I had to conduct a chamber piece with the graduate chamber winds, which at that point was the Hartman Serenade, the Opus 43. Having never conducted chamber winds really at all, because we don't really do the middle school chamber winds thing so much. So after 18 years of that was my audition. It was those two things. And we went up and it was me and another person were for the 2 audition spots because he had 2 slots that year. And I auditioned well, and he offered me the spot, so I started in the fall of 2014 on campus. And then I did my 2 years there, so I was there from 2014 to 2016, and was looking for a job in 2016. And you send out so many applications when you're looking for a job at the collegiate level, and I mean the packets are 15, 16 plus pages long, and you send videos and all these things. And I'd done a lot of that, and I'd gotten a couple of on-campus interviews, but it was mid-June, and I still didn't have a job offer. It's like, okay, well, we'll just see how this goes. I could go back to public school if I want to. That's not a big deal, or if I needed to. But we're doing our conducting symposium, and my phone goes off, and it's a text message from Jeff Fuchs, who's the director of university bands down at UNC Chapel Hill. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, this is odd. I haven't heard from Jeff in a while. And the text message was, hey, can I call you today around 2? Sure. And I thought to myself, surely the assistant director of bands is not leaving. Like Matt McClure, who was in the job at the time, surely he's not leaving. That would be too simple. And I talked to Jeff at 2 o'clock, and that's exactly what had happened. He's like, are you done? Would you be interested in the position? Yes, sure. That would be great. So I packed up and moved back to North Carolina, and I've was there for the last 2 years as the assistant director of bands, assistant director of athletic bands. As it turns out, a similar opportunity came down when my grad school colleague David Thornton moved into the director of Spartan Marching Band, associate director of bands position at MSU when John Madden retired. So when they were searching this year, they asked me to apply for the job, and I applied for the job, and as you can see by my current outfit.
The shoes as well. You're
right. It's a go green kind of day here. So I'm very fortunate to be able to go back and be back on campus at alma mater number 2. And right now my job assignment is assistant director of bands, associate director of Spartan Marching Band's the title. But I'm essentially the assistant director for the Spartan Marching Band. I will be doing the women's basketball band for Spartan Brass, which is our indoor athletic bands ensemble.
Okay.
I'll be doing the concert band, which is the 3rd music major ensemble in the College of Music. And I also will be doing the Spartan Youth Wind Symphony, which is the high school honor band that we have auditions for and put together every spring. And then I'll teach first semester beginning conducting 1, and second semester marching band methods. And on top of all that, be able to be back in that atmosphere.
Yeah.
Which is just, I think I told everybody in the interview process, and it wasn't as genuine as I could be. It's like the community that's in that College of Music is second to none. It is incredible how well everybody works in the building, and how everybody has a common goal, and it's to make the best possible music possible. The cherry kind of on top of everything for everybody right now up there is the new music facility. I mean, they just broke ground for that new building that's going to include new rehearsal halls, new practice rooms, a jazz cafe for the jazz program. It's going to be incredible. So it's been an interesting path, but I feel pretty good about it.
Can we just unpack some of this? Can we go back to, the thing that's fascinating me the most is political science and Jim Heil. And
he's an interesting character. One.
Well, but I mean, obviously, must have been pretty influential to get you to basically say, okay, I'm going to go from this path to go somewhere else. Were you in love with political science at that point as much as you seem?
I'm still fascinated by it.
Are you? I mean, as much as you're in love with music here.
I mean, it's not essentially not very safe to be probably fascinated with political science at this point, but this is a band podcast, so we'll stick to and I should add, it was not just him.
Sure.
He and his wife were there. So Dr. Nancy Whitaker was the music ed person.
Okay.
And they came at the same time to campus. And I would argue, if you just saw him in a normal day, not in front of a band, you would be like, okay, well, he's a nice enough guy, whatever. But when he gets in front of an ensemble, it is remarkable. Just remarkable how inspiring and driven and motivating he can be. You know, it was an incredible experience to watch him work and to do things, and it was so very different than what we were all used to.
Yeah,
I would argue. He was different. The repertoire was different for the concert bands. I think the most obvious impact he made was probably with the Marching Tar Heels.
Okay.
There were some fallacies about instruments and things and how they functioned when he got there that he had to address pretty quickly. It's just kind of like, I won't even say them out loud. I mean, you just can't.
We'll do an extended version here sometimes.
Yeah, excuse me. But there was a lot that had to be dealt with that ensemble when he got there, and it was pretty small. And by the time he left, it had 330 members.
Wow.
And he gave it I would argue, a more positive identity in the setting or on campus. And as you can imagine, when you come in and you have to make change, not everybody liked that or appreciated that. And honestly, I didn't so much at the time. But especially in retrospect, it's like, wow, I mean, how did he get all of us to work past that initial, we don't want to make these changes, we don't trust you to do this, we don't trust what you're doing. How did he get so many of us to work past that and hang in there and follow what he was doing?
Sure.
Because, I mean, it was very different. I mean, one of the first things he did was institute the run-on for pregame. And it's like, you want us to run and then play our instruments? What? We're in the South. We don't do that. I mean, it's like, it's that kind of thing. But the harder he worked, the more convincing he seemed to be to all of us. And it really, that was that 8-year period. I think people around the state of North Carolina recognized that was it even 8? He was there from 1989 to 1996. So many band directors who are influential in the state of North Carolina came out of that small period. Okay. It's pretty incredible. I mean, and it changed my life trajectory for sure. Okay. And I'm certain that I'm not the only one that would say that.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, is there anything I can? And it's kind of an easy question that you could assume I'd ask, but the political science major. You're really fascinated by that. I am fascinated by that, and I'll stop in a minute. But I'm just thinking, like, how has that helped you as a band director? Because I know there are no politics in schools.
Oh no, you're so funny. I think it's actually the combination of that degree plus what I learned doing ed leadership stuff.
Okay.
That helped me realize that.
So the music degree was the least helpful degree?
Oh, no. Clearly. I mean, it's in there. But in terms of being able to put a program together and make a program successful and move it forward to where, it can go, sometimes you kind of have to, not necessarily massage is the wrong word, but you kind of have to. I'll say it this way. I said it to somebody earlier today. Sometimes people have to think things are their idea, even if they're not.
Sure.
So the ability to look at things, from the multiple angles that a political science degree would require, plus have the educational language and thought process to couple with that, it can help. It can help put things on the road to success for a program. And that's what I found out worked for me in many ways. It's like, oh, well, if I didn't have this piece of information about how schools function, I wouldn't have been able to go, hey, we need to do this for the band because the band's prepping for this. Can we do this with the schedule, which would impact it just makes you look at things differently, which helps you really with administrators talk to them about how things need to function for the band program.
Sure.
Because I think we all know as band directors, it's not that we're saying our administrators are not smart people. What we're saying is most of them are not band directors.
Yeah.
And it's a very particular thing that we typically need to make our students successful. And if we can talk to them about that in ways that can make sense within the bigger educational picture, it makes things work better.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And another thing I think about too, you were talking about, being a middle school band director and then college. I mean, I'm sure in middle school recruitment is very important, but in college, is it more important for you to recruit in college?
I think it's important wherever you go.
Okay.
I mean, if I don't think you can not do that, especially with things the way they are now, with so many things that people can choose to do.
Yeah.
As students, I don't think you cannot do that. I mean, elementary school into middle school, if you have elementary programs, middle school into high school, and then, of course, high school into college. I mean, we just did, which is why I'm in my Go Green outfit today. We did a week this week of green and white days, which is where prospective rising freshmen come. Let's say that well. So these guys are seniors in high school this coming fall, but they're interested in MSU. So they come onto campus and they tour and they talk about everything from scholarships to different requirements for different majors. They have a session with us for Spartan Marching Band. So they're already looking at what they're going to do, not even this year, but the year following.
Sure.
So that's one of the things we do, and I think you have to. Mm-hmm. You have to do the recruiting thing. I don't know that people take it as seriously at all levels as perhaps we should.
What are some issues that you have with college recruiting that people might not expect?
And see, this is year 3 going in, and I'm changing settings. So I'm not certain that I can speak to that.
Sure. I would think like where I teach high school, and a lot of my kids now, it's more so becoming they're choosing the school based on the money they get.
Oh, sure.
There's a lot less loyalty. Even when mom or dad went to this school, and your kid's going to go to that school, it doesn't seem like that matters as much anymore with the rising cost of higher education. Well,
I think one of the things that I learned at UNC is you have to help them put the puzzle pieces together a little bit, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So you have to help them know, okay, you're coming to this campus for school. We have a band, because they're thinking about all the other components, and a lot of them aren't thinking beyond high school band. So, for example, down there, we started doing concerts where we'd bring high school bands onto campus and pair them with our ensembles. So it's like, and there were bands that typically we see a lot of kids coming from that school into the UNC environment. So it's like, why don't we just do this? And I think UNC Greensboro does something very similar where they come onto campus, they play the concert, and they see how things function, and they see what the facilities look like, and they meet the directors, and they do all these things, which then put a name and a face with that program and in that situation, which hopefully pays dividends in the long run. Mm-hmm. So it's like you'll get more kids coming into the band program from those bands because they had that experience. And this year we're pretty lucky because we did that at UNC, and then we also did we had the opportunity to host one of the larger districts for their district band and the all-state band. Okay. All in that same year. So the kids got a lot of time on campus. I know from an MSU perspective, the green and white days, we do that. We do a recruiting push through social media, especially for Spartan Marching Band, by doing videos about the band and videos. It's Answer the Call is the tag name, giving them the dates that they can come audition and giving them information about Spartan Marching Band. But you can't do nothing. There was a point in time that I thought that as a middle school band director. It's like, well, the kids are going to come. It's like, no, they're not. They're not going to show up unless their mom or dad or somebody pushes them to do it and they were in band.
Yeah.
They're not going to do it. A lot of times they're motivated. Oh, my neighbor's in band.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and they're having fun. Well, maybe I should do band. Yeah, you should do band. But you have to go get them. You know, luckily I know somebody who's pretty good at the recruiting thing that can help out, give you some ideas. Yeah. But you have to go get them.
So tell us about middle school band. So you taught middle school band
for 18 years.
18 years.
Uh-huh.
And
I was never going to do that.
No?
No. I was going to teach high school band.
Okay.
I was never going to teach middle school band. I didn't think I was a good fit for it.
Why not?
Well, because I did both. I did high school and middle school when I student taught, and I just kind of was like, oh my gosh, they're crazy. Yeah. Like literally, I'm not doing that. You know, well, when you need a job, you take a job. And, you know, luckily the first job I had was in a really good county, in a really good place with a really good history. And then I started teaching middle school. I'm like, I kind of like these guys, you know, because you see so much growth in 3 years.
Yeah.
You know, and so much change. It's fun to be a positive part of that because they've got so much other stuff that they have to face when they're that age. It's fun to be like a kind of a constant through that tumultuous time for them.
What did year one look like in the middle school for you? If you want to get in the time machine and go back and look at that, you know, I'm thinking for
the Wayback Machine.
The Wayback Machine. And you know, what did that look like? What were your successes year one that you can think of? And then, you know, not that you have to air anything you don't want to, but what were some things that you look back and you go, holy cow, if there's anybody that's going to start next year, don't do this.
Okay, so to like give a little bit of setting. So first of all, the school had moved to another school so that school could be renovated. And so I got there and everything had been moved back from that school to our setting. And we had a brand new band room and all this stuff, which was kind of cool. And the very first thing that happened was we had several weeks of school and then Hurricane Fran.
Holy cow.
So that was my first year of teaching. That's how that started. Moved back to the new building, try to find all the things, and hurricane. Right? So that was that. I think if I look back on that year one, I would do it differently in that I would try harder not to be sucked into worrying about what they thought of me and be more worried about them learning what they needed to learn.
Okay.
I think we all fall in that trap. And it's the thing to realize is it's like they will like you if they feel like they're learning stuff and being successful rather than you being worried about whatever trends they have going on or whatever social it matters to them. And I guess it should matter to us a little bit, but the big deal is that we're teaching them the things that will make them successful and make them want to, you know, be in our bands, be in the high school band, be in the college band. I thought that's one huge thing, and I would pick better music too. Like I found some of those programs when I was moving, and it's like, ugh. Like, who picked this? And I don't mean to sound like a snob, but who picked this?
We're sitting at Rachel Maxwell's house right now.
In the basement,
In the basement. And this is the first one I've had with an audience, too. There's Rachel's daughter playing on her phone and, you know, other people. But
just random other people.
I don't know if they want their names out there or not. But... you know,
you're going to hear from one of the two of them no matter what. So,
but Wendy's here, and I didn't talk to Wendy about this, but I talked with Rachel about this before, and it was her music selection process.
Oh, sure.
And you know, Rachel's funny because her daughter was there, and basically he goes, "Oh, it's like band day every day here," and just listens and makes lists and everything. What was your, you know, when you feel like maybe you really started picking some music you were proud of at the middle school, what was your music selection process?
No, I still don't know that I've done that yet. I mean, it's like I still look back at some of the things I put together, like the last few years I was teaching. I'm like, why that piece? Why? Because you know, you just get gung ho about something. It's like yes, and then you're like, what was I doing? I I think the change, though, is when I really started to worry about, this may sound odd, but I'm going to go with it anyway. I started to worry about not only what the kids needed, but what would the audience like to hear?
Okay.
You know, because that's a part of the gig. It's like
we are entertainment.
We are providing like an experience for the people who are listening. So I started to really mess around in some ways with I think I always tried to balance out styles, but really kind of thinking about key signatures and key centers and how it's like, okay, so how through this music can we offer the audience a sense of finality when we get to the end? What can we do? What can we mess around with in terms of putting these programs together that will offer that? And also the whole idea of backward mapping through the year for the students, what you're going to do. So it's like, if I want my students to be playing these things and featuring these concepts over here in May and June, what am I going to do in December? What am I going to do for assessment if I have to do that in March? What are the puzzle pieces that need to go together so that by the time we get here, they're still challenged, but they're not overwhelmed? And that's kind of a fun thing to do. In that it really makes you think through, first of all, okay, who are these children? Who are these students? And what can they do? What should they be able to do by the time that they are leaving 8th grade and heading to the high school? You know, you can look at what your high school band director does. I was very fortunate because I sent kids to 2 high schools that played grade 6 literature. Okay. So if we could get to a place that we were playing pretty sturdy, like say, for example, like a Prairie Songs by Pierre LaPlante, if that's what we're doing in 8th grade, or we're doing something like a Last Full Measure by Michael Sweeney, or maybe a Among the Clouds by Brian Balmages, we're doing those things, that gets them prepped to go into those high school bands and be successful almost right out of the chute. But it's just, it's the combination of those two things. It's like, okay, what do they need? How do we need to get there? What concepts do we need to be digging in on? More tone. It's like, what do these pieces need to have? What qualities do they need to have to make those things come together for them? Yeah. So,
what were some of the experiences that your middle school kids ended up having with you as a director that you're particularly proud of?
See, I was thinking about that earlier today in the car too, and I don't know why. I think it's because I was coming to Chicago. Okay. That's probably it. I hope that the big deal for the kids was when we did commission pieces. I think that probably is the best thing that I talked our boosters into doing. Okay. Because we're very fortunate and it started, and I'm so very thankful that I had to make some phone calls to set up a commission for the band district that I used to work in central North Carolina. And as a result of that, I had to talk to Brian Balmages. And when I talked to Brian, we're talking about the whole, can you do this commission for the district? We were able actually as a school to bring him in because we were doing some of his pieces anyway. And as a result of that, we started talking about commission, and he did our first commission piece because the parents just thought it was incredible that he was there with the kids as a composer, talking to them about his music, talking to them about music in general. He will sit at the piano and talk to the kids. He'll compose a piece for them on the spot. I mean, he's just that guy. So that started the whole process for us. And once the parents saw, oh, wow, this is a living composer-musician in this band room who is great with these kids, and the kids are they're asking actually smart questions, like they're doing brilliant things with him, they were sold. So I think for that program and for those kids, that piece, and we were able to do one with Brian, we were able to do one with Stephen Bryant, we were able to do one with Pierre LaPlante that's not yet published. We were able to do one with Michael Markowski, and we were able to do one also as part of the consortium with John Mackey. So I think that is it's the best thing I was able to do. Okay. And we did other things, but that is the big kid-centered thing. Yeah. Because, I think, as I was thinking about it today, it's like, we did a lot of other things, but I don't know that were always the most kid-centered things. Sure. Which, in retrospect, you kind of go, Yeah, that the kids were the thing that helped make that happen, but I don't know if So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that was fun. That was so much fun to watch them do, and so much fun to be involved in that process with them and those composers. I mean, especially all of them are fantastic pieces, but the looks on their faces the first time the electronics played for the Machine Awakes.
Okay.
I will never forget that.
Well, it's got to feel good to know that, the kids got that experience. You were instrumental in
No pun
helping.
intended.
No pun intended. I was going to not say it, but
Gotcha.
you said it. You got me. But it's got to feel good that you helped push new music out to the profession that, people can buy and play with their programs.
Well, all of those all those composers did such a phenomenal job. I mean, for Michael Markowski in The Cave You Fear, that was the first grade 2 piece he'd ever written.
Okay.
And I mean, it's the kids second to the Machine Awakes probably just went nuts because it's so novel. I mean, you've got all these features that you would hear in a normal middle school band piece, but then you've got an amplified lion's roar. You've got multiphonics and the saxophones. I mean, you've just got all these extra musical things that happen. And then when Michael was there, he actually videoed the kids demoing those things and worked with them. It was just incredible. Yeah. It's an incredible experience.
So let's say I want to do a commission project. Is it as simple as you said? You just call somebody up and you raise the money? Is there more to it than that?
Some people, raising the money is kind of key. But the thing that people should, and this was hard for me to get my head around at first, but I went and did it anyway. When you call people and ask them for something, all they can do is say no.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. There are some composers that said, no, I don't have time to do this. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for listening to the proposal. And you just go on to the next composer on your list. And first, you have to have an opinion about people's music and who you think would write well for your group. And who you feel like the music speaks to you, so that they're going to do something that you're going to be comfortable with and the kids are going to be comfortable with. But I fell into the Balmages one, like literally. Had him on the phone, got him to come to the school and it was our spring concert. He did Moscow 1941 with one group and did Incantation and Ritual with the younger group. And just from that, we fell into that. But then it's just like, well, I'm just going to pick up the phone and call. Who would I like to hear a middle school band piece from? Mm-hmm. Oh, well, Stephen Bryant's never done anything. I kind of fell into that one too, because I had to order a score from him for something else. Okay. Which then he's like, oh, well, we're moving to Durham. How far is Durham from, Hillsborough or Effinland? I worked in Effinland. Okay. And I'm like, 30 minutes tops. It's like, oh. And it just evolved from there.
Sure.
And then I said to him, so who should we get next? Oh, you should talk to Michael Markowski. Sometimes life just works out. Yeah. And I'm a big Pierre LaPlante fan, so I just needed that to be in the world. Okay. So, and hopefully one day we'll be able to get it published and the rights will gel, but don't be afraid to just pick up the phone or send the email. If they say no, oh well. If they say yes, start raising money. Okay. If you haven't already, and start really thinking
and getting that parent buy-in as well.
Yeah. And it's for me, it was finding the right parent who then talked the other parents through it. Okay. This particular parent was a parent at both the middle school, my middle school and one of the high schools. And she had 2 kids in band, so she'd seen how this all works. And I explained to her what was going on when I'm like, okay, her name's Ingrid. We have the opportunity to bring Brian Balmages in and he'll work with the kids and do the spring concert. She's like, how much? And I told her, she's like, I'll call you back. Half an hour later, she calls me back. We're good. Bring him down.
All right.
That's kind of how the commission went. It's like, this is what we want to do. And she talks to the other parents. It's like, this is what we want to do. Yeah. Give us X amount of time. Okay. X amount of time passes by. Okay. We're good. Let's do it. Okay. Just keep asking.
What do you hope those middle school kids are doing today that have graduated and they're on? What do you hope they're doing musically?
I swear I'm friends with most of them on Facebook at this point. Well, some of them are doing so many different things. Some of them are still playing because some of them went and did music ed, and I shook my head at them and went, "Are you sure? Are you sure? You've seen what I get like in these situations?" And they're like, "Yeah, it's fine. We're good." So some of them are doing that. Some of them are taking other routes and doing jazz. Some of them are doing electronic music, which that was so much fun. It's like a kid from my second year of teaching in my first job is now doing all sorts of electronic music and using electronics in ways that are so fresh and just like mind-blowing to listen to almost. It's like, oh my gosh, never thought you'd do something like that, but okay, let's go with it. That's great. But they're playing a lot of them. A number of them are in law school, which is, there's some irony to that. I understand that. But, you know, I think in the long run of life, if they've learned to go out in the world and contribute, and not even necessarily in music, but just contribute to the world in positive ways, I'm okay with that. Okay. You know, and if they're going through life and they're happy, well-adjusted people, that's great. You know, a lot of them are like headed for 30 now, which kind of messes with my psyche. It's like, really? Really? But, you know, there's so many great kids that I taught over the years. And, you know, on top of that, I pile on student teachers that I've had who are out in the world being super successful musicians and teachers. It's just, I just hope everybody is doing well. Yeah. You know?
Absolutely.
Like something that simple. I know it sounds simplistic, but, you know.
Well, let's switch to college then.
Okay.
So with college, you went over your schedule for this upcoming year. Mm-hmm. How are you going to balance that?
Well, I'm lucky in that when I was on campus as a grad student, I did most of that. Okay. I wasn't obviously the person in charge, except for the marching band methods class. I was in charge of that. But I know how everything functions. Okay. And there's obviously in 2 years there's been change and there's been adjustments made to a number of things because, you know, David Thornton moved into the position as Spartan Marching Band director. But, you know, it's with the relationships I have with the people I'm working with, I'm not stressed about it. I'm not stressed about how it's going to function. I'm stressed about making sure that things go well. Okay. And making sure that I am contributing and helping be a leader of a program that's always going places. It's like there's so many things that go on that are so fantastic at that school. You know, I'm not stressed about it. Okay. I probably should be. Maybe I will be when preseason starts on August 20th.
Well, some people have views of college, you know, band directors that maybe it's a little bit more of a glamorous life in a sense. And, you know, from the people I've talked to, they said, no, there's a lot of travel involved. There's a lot of recruitment.
See, I enjoy all of that. Maybe that's why I'm not like, yeah. But I mean, I enjoy all those things. And there's a lot going on. I mean, I have a 7-day work week all fall. Okay. Because I have concert band rehearsal Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We have Spartan Marching Band rehearsal Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I teach conducting first semester Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We have game days on Saturday. And then I have the youth symphony on Sundays. So it's a 7-day week. Okay.
That's what you do.
It is, and it all involves music, so that kind of makes it okay for me. Okay. You know, I probably talk to me in like October, and I'll be like...
But what would you say to somebody maybe that's experiencing some burnout, though?
Don't we all go through periods of that, though? Like, we all go through some sort of something that makes us reassess, like, what am I doing? I think we all do. I mean, that happened to me as a middle school band director. Okay. Which the signal for that to me is like, oh, I got to change something. It's like, clearly, if I'm feeling this way, I am doing something that's not allowing me to do this in a way that's enjoyable. So I took a step back and had to analyze what on earth I was doing that was kind of putting me in that place. Because, I mean, honestly, middle school, high school, college, if you're doing all the things you should probably be doing to make the program successful, you're going to be a little crispy around the edges. Because there's always something to do. There's always something that needs to be done. There's always something that needs to happen, in the name of, these kids need to be good musicians.
Sure.
I mean, that's how that works. So I literally, I got that feeling and I went, oh, what are you doing, Golden? I mean, you have to, for me, I had to look at what I was doing and what I was doing in ways that made me feel that way.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe I'm weird. I probably am.
We all are. We're band directors.
We all have our things, but I tried to kind of spin it and not allow it to really weigh me down.
Okay.
And sometimes, well, no, that actually I won't say that. We'll keep moving.
What do you do besides band then? So you're doing band
There's
7 days a
stuff
week.
You could do other than band?
That's what I've heard.
What is this madness? What is going on? I spend free time watching a lot of TV. I'm not gonna lie. Like I could sit and this is terrible. I could sit and watch Archer on a loop sometimes.
Okay.
Because I love that show because it's kind of inappropriate.
Just a little.
A little bit, but it's funny. I do a lot of TV watching because it just lets my brain kind of turn off.
Sure.
So it can reboot itself. And I am in a band nerd gathering, so I probably have to own the fact that the amount of band music I listen to is probably a little disturbing if you track my YouTube. Like it's a little crazy, especially if I'm looking for new music, like in that period of time that most of us go, oh, I need to start thinking about next year. The amount of music I listen to is crazy.
Sure.
Like from there to Spotify, I mean, it's a little crazy.
I like that I asked what you did besides band, and somehow you went back to band.
Because that's such a part of who I am. It's like I travel, I go places. I get to travel now more a little bit because I actually have a salary again and a job. So I've been here and there and everywhere this year. I feel like, but a lot of that was also job related. So It's like it's kind of just everywhere. I don't know that I have an answer that takes me completely away from band other than the TV thing.
What are some pieces then that you've listened to recently that you can think of that you might suggest maybe people not program them if they don't have the ensembles for it, but maybe even just listen to?
Okay. I'm doing this year with concert band. Dance Fairs by Jess Turner is something that I think we're going to have a great time putting together. It's very oriented in dance beat and kind of like an EDM, like an electronic music thing. So I'm really enjoying that one. I was listening the other day because I've got some middle school things I'm going to do this year coming up, and I really hope I'm getting the title right. There's a new fanfare by Tyler Grant called Shimmering Joy that I really like. Another one that I heard via the UCLA Conducting Symposium, because I was watching that live stream, is Chasing Sunshine. It's a Kate Nishimura piece, which is really cool. I fully intend to, at some point this year, revisit a piece that I did when I was out in Oswego doing the honor band. We premiered Julie Giroux called Our Castaways. I fully intend to revisit that.
Are you friends with her on Facebook?
Yes.
She's got the best Facebook page.
My best day ever was when I posted something on Facebook and somebody posted something crazy and then Julie went after them. I'm like, yes! This is fantastic. And the other person immediately starts backpedaling. It's like, no, that's not what I meant. She's like, but that's what you said. And she just goes in. I'm like, oh, God. It's like, you never know who's watching. Hang on. There's something. And there's some things that have come to me that are maybe not new to other people, but they're new to me. So there's what is it? A Chris Pilsner called Doom Sparrow, Spiro, or Spiro Sparrow. I should get those correct, right? And it's a gorgeous slow piece that we're going to do this year. At MFA, when I did that camp, I revisited one of my favorites, Cyclone by Mike Orr. I need to do something other than that piece, but I really enjoy that piece. But Andrew Boyson Jr., everybody should keep an eye out for his new piece that he wrote for Chris Gleason's band up in Wisconsin called The Tale of the Headless Horseman. And the kids did a phenomenal job putting that together, but it's great music, and it also accompanies great visual art. I mean, the artwork is gorgeous, and it was done by a Wisconsin artist whose name escapes me right now. But the music plays along with that artwork through the performance. It's great. So people should really, it's like grade 2.5.
Okay.
Some places it might be grade 3, but people should keep an eye out for that because it's a great piece.
Yeah.
I probably have others I can mention, but that's a lot, I feel like.
That's a lot off the top of your head. You do listen to a lot of music. That's cool.
I'm not the only person in the room that does that. I just want to say that out loud.
So you've had, again, if you look through your resume and your bio, like you've had an incredible career so far and a lot of success. Were there ever any roadblocks or speed bumps that you had?
Oh, sure. They're always, those are always there. Now, you can choose to let them stop you, but I'm a little bit hard-headed.
Okay.
You know, there were a number of things that happened between when I went to, let's say, the Northwestern Conducting Symposium in 1999, and when I finally got to graduate school in 2014. There's a lot of life things or some professional things. You know, you can't let that, if you have something that you want to achieve, you can't let that stop you. Mm. You know, there's some things that professionally happen from like a political standpoint, even in the state of North Carolina. That's kind of like, well, I really kind of wanted to do that, but okay, I'll go teach my band. Mm. And it's like, you could get downtrodden about it, or you could do something productive. I tend to choose after I stew on it or get really like angry and go sit in the corner. I tend to try to move forward. Because that's the only way you're going to get to what you think you can do. So
yeah, we have a lot of kids at my high school that will, try to sometimes use those excuses, and maybe not excuses. They believe that I can't do this because I don't have this. I'm not this. I didn't get this. But this person said no. This opportunity isn't here. So
some of the most successful people I know are not motivated by outside things. It's not an extrinsic thing for them. It's from the inside out. And that's why they're successful. Because they'll try something, and it's like, well, that didn't work. Okay. They'll go regroup, think through what happened, and they'll go right back at the thing they were trying to achieve from just not even a big change, but a slightly different angle. And here we are. Yeah. So we all come from such different places and have such different things that either drive us or motivate us or inspire us. For me, I just think I hold on to those things and try to, from my own internal place, keep moving forward to what I'm trying to get done.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just have to accept that can't get done. Maybe you need to rethink what the thing is.
Sure.
And approach it from a different perspective.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we'll be closing up here soon, but what are your future goals?
People ask me that, and I don't have any clear-cut answers right now. I think my most immediate goal is to teach at MSU.
Okay.
And be successful.
Live in the moment.
Absolutely. And if other opportunities, whatever those might be, appear or come onto the horizon, then I guess I'll have to consider some things, or I'll have to make a choice or whatever. But right now, I'm very happy to be taking this opportunity that I have.
All right. Well, Arris, thank you for coming out here and talking with us.
Oh, thank you for having me on. It's been fun.
Absolutely. We'll probably have to do a part 2 sometime when you come back, if you're okay with that. Maybe get a couple other guests involved out there.
Oh, now that would be kind of fun.
Yeah, it would be, but I gotta get some more mics for that. So
we could just sit around the one.
That would be really. All right, Arris, thank you very much.
Thank you.